Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to this video on sequences in Oracle. Today we'll be discussing about using sequences in any application like forms or in Oracle Apex as well, and we will discuss different considerations one should have while selecting the phase at which you are going to assign a sequence. So, why I am saying this one? Because this is really important for the audits, performance as well as accuracy of the data. So, let us see how we can understand further the sequences. So, first question is why we need sequences? I mean, very simple. And what is sequence, by the way? Sequence is something like, for example, when you are having transactions in your table, you assign one numbering sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, something like that, which is normally a primary key, right? Okay. Can we avoid sequences? I mean, sequence is a number. Now you can create using Oracle sequences, and then you can have different other let's say finding a last number assigned, and then you can add one in that. There are different ways. I will show you all of them, and then you have to select as per your requirements or as per your logic, right? It will depend if you are doing batch processing or if it is a transactions entry and things like that. How to have gapless sequences. So, there are requirements of, especially let's say for example inventory or financials. You don't need a gap, because if there is a gap, that means something is missing over there, right? So, let's say for example if you have 5 transactions up from 1 to 5 and third one is missing, that means this data is wrong, or someone deleted, someone played, things like that. There is a practice that normally people do, like max ID plus 1 in the last table transactions, but it will compromise your performance and it can still have the gaps. I will show you how I am saying, because it also depends on number of users who are doing the transactions. Let's say if it is one user, then it's okay, or maybe 2 users, I mean less users. So, up to that it is okay, but if you have more users, every time you have to scan your full table and you have to find the next ID, it is really, and if someone will not save it. Again, it depends at what level you will take it and you will insert in your table. I will show you those stages as well. At what step sequence should be assigned, this I will show you. Sequences option in Oracle Apex. Then I will show, okay, at what level, how you can assign sequences in Oracle Apex, because today majorly I am going to hit Oracle Apex side, but of course you can apply this anywhere. Okay, now there is a possibility. Let's say for example you have a table in which you are inserting the data and you are assigning a sequence on the form, right, on the page, but you haven't submitted. I mean, it is possible, right? But sequence number is generated. So now there will be a gap, right? Because let's say on 4th you got generated, but it was not inserted. So there is a gap. Where is 4th number record? Now there is a way to do this one in the table trigger. If you see here, this command will take, this command. While inserting, you are assigning a next value of the sequence, right? So if you see here, I have just put it there, js underscore party underscore ss means for sequence, right? Dot next value into new ID from. So now this is almost the last stage when Oracle is going to insert in this, but maybe still something can happen here, if there is any error or something like that. But now here the sequence is generated, the next value is assigned, right? But maybe after this trigger, you have some logic or something like that, it got errored out or something like that, then still you will have a sequence gap. So these things you have to consider, where at what level you can afford it or you can place it, right? Okay, from 12C onward, Oracle introduced identity column. It is there in other application. It was there. I mean, to generate a next number from the table itself. So now you can have that while creating the table, right? You can create identity column, which is normally the first primary key or ID. So this is how you can create your next numbering. It has different properties you can assign or parameters at this level. So let's say, for example, if default on null, if nothing is coming in this ID column, then it will by default assign to this. So now this condition, it is saying like this, right? Which again, it is risky as well. So let's say, for example, in your ID field or column, there is a space coming in. So that means it is not null, right? So it will not assign it a number. So and it will also save, because this is not null as well, or maybe there is a dot, something like that. So there is always, that means always identity column will be created or assigned over here. So I just try to show you different like sequence, like when we create the sequence, it has like this. So this is again the same identity column definition. So it will create one primary key, sequence with the amp underscore pk in order to assign it. And this is how you can use identity column. I will share the link where I have kept all these code or definitions. So then you can copy paste from there if it is needed. Okay, there is another concept or feature or option. It is also, I believe, from 12C onward. So now, whilst doing insert, update or delete, you can return the primary key. If you see here, it says returning emp number into a variable. So this is my PL SQL. There I have defined one variable of number, and here I am saying on returning. So it will insert whatever assigned to this emp number using identity column or whatever. It will return back to this variable. Then you can further use it in your code or logic. Same way in update, again you can return, and you can even return in the delete command as well. So if you see here, employee number deleted, this is employee number deleted, while I passed just where emp number is equal to this. I deleted with this, but whichever is deleted, it is it returned in the returning class, right? Now the question is, let's say for example there are 10 Sikandars, so how it will get returned? So then you can use collections. If you see on the right side, bulk ID return in the collection. So returning emp bulk collect into my collection. So you will define my collection as a variable. So then you can get all the deleted, updated or inserted in the my collection, right? Okay. There was a old practice, people were doing select max amp number plus 1 from dual. So let's say for example, if you have a table having 1 million records, it was very good when old databases or tables were there, when data was not much and you were able to do this one very easily. But now the data is quite huge. If you are putting extra performance issues, it can have, just imagine if you have 500 users, everyone is doing this max, and then someone is saving, someone is not saving. So what will be the condition of your IDs? I will show you when I am saying not saving or saving. And then another logic was, let's say for example, instead of doing this one, because of course there is a logic that if 1 million records table is there and you are trying to get the max, instead of that you have a one small table of sequences or numbering or something like that, in which you say emp number or emp the last sequence you can take from here. So it is less performance issue as compared to this the first logic, right? Few recommendation in my mind: use sequences with no cache if gaps not needed. So normally what people they do mistake, they use create sequence ABC, start with 1 or something like that, and that's it. Now the default clause of no of cache is 20. That means every time when you will call this sequence, it will keep a cache of 20. Now it depends on you. You are using it or you are not using it. So if you are having batch processing, then you can use this cache option. Maybe you can add more cache because it will give you good performance. But if it is not a batch processing, it is a transactional, then you need to use a clause no cache 20 instead of 20 0. Sorry, it is no cache. Cache 20 means keep cache of 20, but no cache means don't keep cache, right? Use at level when transaction getting inserted and committed. So this should be the last stage somewhere that okay, from there onward my transaction will be successful, I am not expecting any issue, then gaps are not expected. But again, if you have generated the next value and you are not saving it, it is not inserted, then you have a problem, right? New go live start with 1, avoid test entries. Now normally what developers they do, they do some testings on production while going live, and then they don't delete that or they don't reset those sequences or whatever. Now what happens, they went live, let's say for example they did 10 test transactions, they deleted that 10 transaction, but when users started making entries, so it started from 11. Now when auditors will come, they might ask you, okay, where are these 10 transactions? Because now you have started from 11. So there you can't justify that these were test transactions or something like that. That means something is deleted. Just think in the way that auditors will always think you did something wrong, right? They can't say everything positive or good, otherwise they can't do audit. So this was one thing. In case batch processing should use cache option, right? So while doing batch entries, let's say you have 5,000 entries, 10,000 entries, whatever, and you are doing in a loop. So better to use this cache option. So every time it will give that that number of sequences in the memory, but it will be lost. So let's say for example, if you used only 1 out of 20, then the next number will be 21. Do not allow deletion but inactivation. Now there is a concept that you shouldn't delete the records. Even if you don't need something, you just undate it, disable it, inactivate, because you need a sort of audit trail or audit purpose that okay, even if something is deleted, you have to keep somewhere an evidence that okay, this was deleted, it is this was the record. So even if it is what kind of, especially in the financial applications or inventory application, you shouldn't remove data from the table. If it is really needed, something like that, and you are expecting that okay, it will not be an audit issue, then it's okay. But and it depends on the table to table as well, which table is critical, what kind of data it has. Another thing is address audit concerns. You have to think auditor's point of view as well. It is not like normal developers, they think okay, the way I'm doing it is correct. Okay, for you it is correct, but auditors think they differently. They think something happened, something wrong happened, people they are doing wrong things. Their concerns are their question. Okay, if something is not there, let's say for example, one record is missing. What happened? Someone is playing. Maybe some hacker is there. Maybe something inside, people are playing with it. So you need to address this one. So let's say, for example, if I am saying I have these points from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I delete this third, an auditor will come, he will say, okay, where is this third? What was that? So if it is totally missing, it is not there, then this, we don't know what was the data there. So you need to keep an evidence that, okay, if it was deleted inside the system or somewhere, because this is going to be asked from you. Check data for any gaps. So another thing is, even you are having application periodically, you should develop your logics to check if there is any missing data, because later if auditor will ask, better to check yourself. And another thing is, let's say for example you have data with date, right? So let's say this was, I am saying 3rd of November or 3rd of October, this one. And on 8th, I'm just putting this as a date as well. So I've noticed here that this third number is missing. Now this somewhere you have to figure it out why this got missing. I'm saying there was some problem, there was some network, someone was trying to save it, it got a gap. Now you cannot use it. Why? Because if you will assign a date to sequence number 3, it can't be 8, right? Because if you will put 3 and you will put date 8 of October, then this is mismatching. You know, this now someone has played with this record, because this was, if this was 2nd of October, so this should be 3rd of October, right? Here transaction should be of 3rd of October. So again, you can't do like this one. So it will be again an audit issue, right? So you need to keep eyes on all this. Another thing is, let's say for example, when you are creating foreign keys, linking keys, when you join from one table to another one, and keep one ID column in each table. So let's say for example, if you have categories, don't assign category name in other tables. Use category ID. So if tomorrow you want to change the category name, you don't need to do any other tables updation or anything. You will go to the primary table of the categories, you will just change the description, because your linking is on ID, not on the description or on the name. So this is very important. I mean, if you are doing with Oracle EBS, you can know the concepts of IDs, code combination IDs and things. So if ID is used, then you can still change, if it is needed, the master table, right? This was the presentation. Now I will show you Oracle Apex, how and where there is a possibility of assigning a primary key or a sequence. Then we can have a better understanding. Another way, erpstuff.com, this link will be here. I have placed this code here and I will be keeping updating it. So this is, you can come here, let me show you how it is. So you will come to the erpstuff.com, you can scroll down, this is Oracle Apex, right? And here I will be keeping Oracle Apex related information, right? So if I see Control F as sequence, see trigger to assign sequence as PK. So there are different, here I have kept this trigger as well, how you can assign this to the table, right? Let me search this where I place this sequence, SEQ UE, know where it went. Let me go back. Okay, here it is. It is in Oracle Apex. Yeah, sequences, right? So I will share this link. Okay, now let me show you the Apex. Now this is Apex page. Now I am assuming you have a sequence, for example. You have a sequence. I'm not talking about no cache, things like that. So what you have to do, this is header, right? This is pre-rendering. I mean, before opening or designing the page. Let's say, for example, if I'm not wrong, Oracle form says, or pre-form or pre-block, these are those levels. So if you assign here, for example, you have generated a key over here and you have assigned it to, let me add one column, create item. And this is my ID, right? Sequence or whatever. So I'm assuming you have created or assigned a sequence or numbering at this level. But when you assigned, you are doing edit entry, you missed use, you forgot to even save or submit this page. That means this number which you generated over here assigned to this ID not saved. Another user, he or she saved the data. So he or she will get the next number, right? So if you use 1, the next number is 2, right? So 1 is missing. So if you are doing at this level and you have a chance that you will not submit or user will not submit, then this is a risky place, right? Okay, there is another way. Let's say, for example, this is my P ID, and if I come down and I will go to default, and if you see here, the last one is sequence. Even you can do the sequence over here as well. So here you will copy paste or enter the sequence name, right? So it will get the next value, right? So if your sequence is, let's say JS, let's say party underscore s, you don't need to put dot next val. It is automatic by the this Apex, right? So this is the way you can assign it as a default, right? Again, let's say, for example, you assign a default, but you haven't saved. Again, there will be gap. So this you have to consider. Now, next possibility is, let's say, for example, you are more concerned about the gaps. You will come here and you will assign your primary key over here, right? Now, if you are assigning from here, this is good place, because when user will submit, the next number is only generated at this level. That means user has submitted it, right? So this is another way to do this one. But again, let's say, for example, from here you submitted and now there was some problem in the link or database or something, and your trigger, it got rejected or it is not created. So that means this ID got a gap, right? So the best is to use identity column, since we have no option, and if not, trigger. So those both should be there because they are very close to the insertion of the table. This is what I believe. So while creating the sequence, let me show you. Create sequence. What is the make normally user make? Let's say you are creating a sequence, this, and you are just created. What it will do, it will have cache 20 default. That means if you will insert one and you are not using the other one, the next person who will be getting this sequence, next value, he will get 21. And there will be gaps, whatever is cache, it is lost and it will, not assigned in the table. So don't do with default if you are concerned about the gaps. What you have to do, now I will just change sequence, my sequence. I will say start with 1, for example, right? And then I will say no cache. That means this 20 is no more there, right? There are other classes as well of the sequence, but the only thing is at least minimum you have to use this one at least, right? By default it will start with 1, but let's say, for example, if you want to start with like this, it's also possible. But this no cache, if you are having gaps in the sequences in the next value, you must use no cache while defining the sequences, right? So this was in the Apex. You can create over here. These are the maximum possibilities. Uh, I don't think so. You should create sequences and things like that in the dynamic insertions. So the best option is, if you are in Apex, this is the submission level at this stage, or in the trigger level, right? Uh, and the most option, because that is Oracle standard way, that is identity column, that is more preferred way. Now you have to check its different classes, and whichever is good you are assigning at the creation of tables. But please, when you are going live and you did few test transactions, let's say 2, 3, 5, whatever, because sometimes people they check, they forget to reset the sequences or the next number, and when they will go live, they will have the gaps. Another thing is, let's say for example, when auditors will come, they might ask inventory data or purchase POs data, purchase orders. So what they will say, okay, give us data, let's say for example, 31st October, I'm just giving you the example, sorry, December, let's say 2022, right? Last 5 purchase order numbers, last, I'm saying last. Then they will say at the same time, give us 1st January 2022, first 5 PO numbers. They want to find if there is any gap, something played over here, these are audit requirements, they have different, they have standards, they have to follow that one, but this is how they might ask you, right? So while closing, something not, skipped, missed, whatever. So this was the topic. I thought it will add value and knowledge and information. Please feel free to ask any questions regarding it, and for other information about Oracle Apex, you can come over here, right? Different codes is here, so easy. Why to reinvent the wheel? If it is there, you just address it, right? Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.